welcome back to Bamaland 300. We are going to be offloading all this beautiful wood that we milled up the other day. Today is a Friday. Now, we milled this up last Saturday and Sunday. Doug brought it back over here to my property from Calvin and DeWitt's mill Monday. That was the eclipse day. We have had 3 days of non-stop rain. Now, that's not ideal for this lumber to be sitting there, but I think it'll be just fine. But I do have a little situation over here. I built this huge pallet. Now, I think that's going to work fine for these 1x6s. I tell you, isn't that just gorgeous? And this was even that butt log that had the nails in it right here. You can see that that's the last bit of it, but that all needs to be stacked and stickered. Now, stickered is where you put the little pieces of wood in between the boards so that they dry properly. Here's a stack of pine that was milled about 2 years ago, and it's completely air dried. I'll get my moisture meter out here. And even though it sits out here in the weather with that tarp on the top, it keeps the water from pooling up on the top of the wood, and the air can get through there. And that lumber is perfectly fine for working, and it wasn't kiln dried. But this wood right now, if I was to guess, is going to be 40 to 50% moisture. That makes it extremely heavy and not suitable for woodworking. Those 2-inch slabs, if left to air dry, probably 2 or 3 years before they would really be usable for anything. So come along with me and let's get this offloaded, stacked, and stickered, and see where I'm going to put it. I don't know where I'm going to put it just yet, so it's out of the way but somewhat accessible, you know what I mean? All right. You know, from the seated position in the Bobcat, you can't see where those lower tines are located. And in my haste and not waiting for someone to be there to help me look or to just stop and put myself in a position to see where the tines are, I ended up bringing that further stack down with this grab of the 2-inch slabs. That's the old axiom, haste makes waste, and what's the worst that could happen? Well, there you have it. That's the worst that could happen. You knock the stack over and make more work for yourself. These 2-inch slabs won't stay where I left them. I've got to make room for them up on the gravel. I'll put some 6x6s up there and separate them in single layers with stickers in between them. Put them up on the gravel just to keep the moisture from beneath the lumber. You can see here once again, I can't see where I'm setting this stack down. I accidentally grabbed the 6x6 when I grabbed this stack. I later remove it, but I'll be restacking those anyhow. As you can tell, these clips are sped up for time. Each of my movements are much slower and cautious.
Grab those 6x6s, set this stack next to my big pallet, and then I can sticker them as I choose after the fact.
The amount of wood that's necessary just in material handling when you've got this much lumber is quite a lot. These 6x6s are very useful. They're usually milled out of the center of the tree, otherwise called the pith. It's the pith is usually, if that's cut into boards, is going to cause you trouble because of movement and cracking and checking. We call this dunnage. I think that term comes from the shipping industry, but this type of wood that we use around the property is called dunnage. I could use 4x4s or 6x6s, or a little heavier, but they do keep the wood up off the ground a little higher and makes it easier to get the forks under it in some cases. Plus it's just sturdier, will last longer, won't rot as bad, and I find it useful. Those 2 logs that I cleaned up from the fallen tree down by the creek will largely all be sawed into dunnage. My buddy Kenny's been a big help around the property. Kenny's retired also, so he often comes over to help. He's been a great help on the pond project, which after these lumber videos, I believe they will be next. Got a lot of editing to do. We are working on the second version of the levee. The first levee just wasn't wide enough, wasn't tall enough, and I don't think we compacted it as good as we should. Nevertheless, we tore that one down. We're putting new piping underneath that's more sturdy. I don't think that the Schedule 40 PVC that we used would have held up to the compacting. So we tore that down and have got some real sturdy 10-inch pipe that we'll be putting under there, and I'm sure that'll work just fine. So stay tuned for those videos. I think it's going to be a beautiful area on the property, and it's nice to have some water stored up for a lot of reasons. So here I'm having to clean up my mess from knocking this pile down with the Bobcat. Wouldn't have been able to do this without Kenny's help, but we loaded these in stacks of 2, knowing full well that I need to, as I said earlier, restack them properly with stickers in between every one of them so they dry better. And so that's what we're doing here. And yeah, haste makes waste, but we got her done. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you like this kind of content, or if I've entertained you a little bit, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. Ring that notification bell so you'll be notified of my next video. As I've said before, and is probably obvious, I'm a new YouTube creator. I need to work on a better social media presence. I find that I watch YouTube Shorts a lot, but what other social sites should I work on? Facebook, TikTok, Instagram? What do y'all suggest would be good for my channel? Well, I certainly appreciate y'all being here, and I'll see you on the next one.